Welcome, everyone, to our Resilient, Worthy, and Unstoppable interview series. And I'm so excited today. I got a chance to talk to Cress last week before last, I don't
Mhm.
know. Time flies when you're having fun. And she is this wealth of knowledge related to healing and energy, and so much more. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious, Cress, what actually got you started on this journey of healing and Reiki and body
Oh my
talk and all the
goodness.
magic that you provide?
Yeah, thanks. That's a really good question because, oh wow, I actually started studying Reiki in 1994. And
Wow,
that was when I taught, yeah, I know, right?
that was
That's
a
a
while
long
ago.
time ago. Um, Basically, what it was is like, I wanted to find a way of a means of me healing myself on my own journey instead of using the medical way or things like that. Wanted to sort of be able to provide like more peace in my life. And because I had a lot of stress in my house, like when I was a child and my mother got sick, and it's like I realized that I wanted to do things differently, and Reiki gave me a peace. And then in 2000, 1996, I studied Reiki level 2 in Vancouver. And then in 1999, I became a Reiki master. Yeah. So basically, what happened was in 1998, and the reason this is so important for me in my healing journey. My dad called me up in 1998, and all my family's in England, and he said to me, "Gosh, he still hits." He got diagnosed with a lung disease in England, and he called me up in 1998 and asked me to come back home to look after him because he was dying, and he knew that I'd
Wow.
been, yeah, I know. And yeah, it really still, when I talk about it, it's like, yeah, I've had lots of healing, and I went through grief counseling, and I've always worked a lot on my issues and things, right? So that was part of the journey for me. Was I already taken my Reiki level 2 in 1996, and in 1998, Dad wanted me to come back to England for 6 months to look after him. And oh my gosh, that was just the most incredible spiritual journey for me in my life, right? It's such a blessing when somebody can do that. And, I to do that for someone, right? And it was just like, I had to get respite care in for me because my dad needed 24-hour care. He was on oxygen at the end, and it was just such a like really stressful time for me. But
Mhm.
the Reiki, I'm practicing Reiki every day, and I do meditation with dad, and I would read Tibetan Book of the Dead with dad, and he was a Christian too. And so that was like a real saving grace for me when I was going through my dad's like death. Like it took in like February 1999, my dad died in England, and I came back to Canada. So then I studied Reiki master in England before probably about 3 months after my dad died. And then I came back to Vancouver in August 1999. Became a Reiki master teacher. So for me, it was like very much of the spiritual healing journey for me. And um, yeah, gosh,
Wow.
I know, right? It still
It's
hits
like,
home.
yeah, yeah, which
Hmm.
is powerful
Thank you.
and really taps into your heart
Hmm.
for helping others.
Yeah. I held that space for my dad. And then I came back to Canada to pack my place, like because I had to leave to go back because my dad asked me to come back. And my younger brother looked after my dad. And in that time, dad died. So it was like I had to rush back to England again in 1999. And we had dad's funeral. And it was just like, oh, this the spiritual awakening for me was just amazing with the Reiki and such a blessing. Yeah, I mean, I was doing the self healing on myself every day, and I was like just meditating all the time. And yeah, so it just gave me a spiritual connection, as well as I was brought up Christian. I went to church as well. So I've always had that basis of it. And then I stopped going to church when I was like 18. But I always went to church and I have that very spiritual background. So then Reiki fulfilled that need for me instead of having to
Yeah,
go to church and things. See what I mean? Hmm.
that's powerful. So,
Thank
you know,
thank you.
with this spiritual journey and
Hmm. Hmm.
so many others really
Hmm.
exploring their spiritual journey and exploring where to turn
Hmm.
when they're
Hmm.
challenged by grief or challenged
Oh,
by the loss of somebody in the family. It's
hmm.
like, do you have tips or tools, or what would you
Hmm.
recommend for others to really take care of themselves?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's why I always did I've always done mindfulness breathing meditation as well, ever since I was like in England. That was part of my training. I don't know why it was, but I also studied that in England as well. So for me, the journey of like being in the moment and being present with it and not judging it when it comes up, because even 30 years later, my dad died in 1999. I still ride those waves of emotion, right? And I'm like, and it's just being able to breathe into that space. And it's okay not to judge yourself and to hold
Mhm.
that space for yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Because
Hmm.
so often we do judge ourselves
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
and we think we should pack it away. And we think
Hmm.
we should not allow for the grief
Hmm.
to be visible or
Hmm.
to experience it. Um,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's really knowing that as humans,
Hmm.
emotions
Hmm.
are, we are, we are emotions.
Totally. Totally right. And sometimes I was dealing with a grief counsellor in England when my dad died, and I also was studying with a dance therapist because I had training in dance as well, and dance was a therapy for me to embody in my body, and I really feel like the grief. I also do that still now as I've been going through different situations in the last couple of years. I'd like go into the feeling of grief and dance into it, or feelings of anger, because anger is a part of the grief and the healing journey, right? When you're going through things like that. And, I felt very angry at my dad for dying. And so I would use dance and dance therapy in England when I was when just after dad died in the hospital. And that was so helpful for me to be able to hold that space of feeling the deep grief, deep anger, because, often below the grief is anger. And I had to really feel that. And then no, it's okay to hold that space for myself and really feel creating a safe space for myself. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
what is dance therapy? That's not something I hear
So in
often.
England, yeah, yeah, because I've always danced since a child. I studied Latin dancing and then I studied Latin dancing in London and then I studied belly dancing and I trained in belly dancing and I trained in Indonesian dance in Vancouver as well because I studied at the Indonesian consulate. So basically for me, being in my body is very important for me to be able to process it. And when I was working with a dance therapist in England in the hospital, it was like she would say, "How are you feeling now?" And I'd feel like go hold that. And it was like doing a creative dance with it, like feeling the grief and embodying the grief in the whole, like my whole body, and not just in my heart. And then what it would do is help me process it. I'd use she'd use like creative dance
Hmm.
and like the Gabriel Roth ones, like the free dancing, and so I could really like embody it and process it and feel it and work with it and not judge it and let it go, because I've always danced, and that's part of the journey for me. Is like even though I've always been on the spiritual journey. is being able to learn to bring it back into my body and embody it through
Hmm.
that. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious with the tools that you
Mm-hmm.
have, with the experiences that you've had,
Mm-hmm.
um, with the healing journeys that you've been on,
Mm-hmm.
who who are those people that you connect with, and who are those people that you like to work with in
Mm-hmm.
helping them move through their journey?
Mm-hmm. So basically, when I was working in Vancouver, I then, in 2002, I started studying, I had body talk sessions and I became a certified body talk practitioner in 2004. So for 20 years, I've been a body talk practitioner too. So that's also like connecting more to the body as well with that. So basically, I was working more with like children on the autism spectrum and families who are experiencing stress, because basically, like we all go through those journeys, right? Of like when we experience trauma and severe emotional distress and grief, we all need support with that. So I found when I was working in the school board, what my specialty was social emotional regulation. I'm helping, children get in contact with their emotions, especially because we've all been through trauma. We all
Hmm.
had those areas, right? And with the body talk, I was able to like go into those deeper places and hold space for them. Hmm.
So what exactly is body talk?
The body talk. So basically, in 2002, I was living in Calgary and I had a year's worth of body talk sessions because I felt I had severe allergies and I also had like irritable bowel syndrome and nothing cleared it. So, but when I was living in Calgary, I found a practitioner there and they were able to work. So basically, what body talk is a combination of osteopathic, chiropractic, Vedic, Chinese medicine, Western medicine, and Vedic principles all mixed together. And the belief is your body has an innate healing ability to heal itself. And
Mm-hmm.
using muscle testing, you're able to connect to the body and find out where the imbalances are. And it removes them at the like core level. So what the body talk practitioner was able to do for me is like let go of all the core trauma. And since then I've had no more allergies. I've had no issues with the irritable bowel because of like trauma from childhood. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is powerful. It's like, how
thank
do I
you. Yeah.
sign up? And even though you and I had talked some about body talk, because I have it
Hmm.
written down, I
Hmm.
don't know that we went into the depths of what it
No,
actually is and what it
no.
encompasses.
Hmm.
And just hearing you talk about it, it's like, ooh, how do I learn more about that? Because, well, I am a learning geek, and there's yeah, it's very fascinating and interesting, and um yeah, I had
No,
never heard of it really. So that
no,
is
it's very
cool.
powerful. And then I'm still learning. Like over the last 4 years, 5 years, I was learning through Dr. Laura Struve, body talk, and basically I was learning like epigenetics and also like the three brains. So I'm always learning more deeper levels, even 20 years later.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So when
Hmm.
you think of your clients and
Hmm.
the work that you do,
Hmm.
what is your favorite modality that you really like to work with and share with others?
Hmm. So basically, what's come like most of the people who come to me, it's like for it's changed in the last couple of years because I've been working on myself a lot and then it reflects in like the people who I'm attracting and working with. And so basically my specialty's always been like with stress relief, like
Okay.
dealing with stress and anxiety and self-regulation. And because often when we're working at the deep levels of stress, we often have like old traumas that we haven't
Hmm.
processed. know what I mean? So I've been working a lot with people like with Reiki. I did a Reiki meditation the other day when I was at the workshop, and I really enjoyed that too. In so basically I'm going with the flow of like my experiences. Like people come in and they ask me, can you do me a Reiki meditation or a Reiki class? And I'll create something for them. And then other people are asking me for like Mind Up Mindfulness. I got trained in Mind Up Mindfulness from Vancouver School Board. So I've been doing that for like 15 years as well. Then we able to create like programs with that as well about self-regulation and letting go of stress and anxiety and things like that. And then sometimes people ask me specifically for body talk. And what's happened more over the last couple of years, it's become more on the deeper epigenetic levels and like working with balancing the three brains and everything. Hmm.
Yeah, that sounds magical
Hmm.
and powerful. And
Thank you.
like we could talk about this, we could talk about it on
Mhm.
an interview for probably an hour, and probably not the
Mhm.
best length for an interview. So,
Mhm.
what what question have I not asked that, or information that you want to share via this interview here before we close out the interview?
Mhm. I just wanted to share that I'm teaching class, started teaching classes again in Vancouver out of Gaia Herbal Apothecary. So basically, I was working out of there for like probably 10 years. But when I'd been on sick leave, I wasn't doing any work with them or teaching classes. But now I'm getting clearance from the doctor, and because after the injury in the school, but I wasn't doing any classes or things like that. So I next class is going to be in like July the 25th in person, in Vancouver. Yay! And it's the first time in quite a few years that I'm actually teaching an in-person Reiki level one class. Yay!
Yay, that sounds fabulous.
It is.
And
And I'm in.
I know that there's people from Vancouver in the
Mhm.
community. So this is a shout out for them to pay attention to what you're offering. This has been so much fun. I
Thank
feel
you.
like I can learn from you for hours and hours and hours and learn everything that you have experienced and your
Mhm.
own journey
Mhm.
and how you help others. And I really appreciate your time today and your
Thank
heart.
you. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.